Hello, this is a video for people in general. The first comment I got this morning was from James, and it was what I'd call a petty little comment, which is fine, it's YouTube, what the hell. It went something along the lines of, if these are mere digits, send me yours. Now, this is either, I don't know what it is, because I haven't said mere digits, have I? Have I? Mere digits? I think it's just a joke, but it's just a very poor joke. And it got me thinking, well, do people actually want to know these things or not? You know, I bang on about them, and people don't run away in droves, they don't flock to watch, but they do watch, but I just do suspect, because of experience, that people have watched hundreds of videos about money type videos, and really not learnt anything at all, or just this side of nothing. I've just listened to Gary's last video to me. Don't know which one it was. Beardy Man, they're all insulting anyway. Beardy Man's another terrible video or something like that. But there's no doubt about it that Gary has picked up more information than I think just about anybody else. Like this last video, he's shown this, that he's got the idea of reserves in the central bank and some other things, but then obviously mixes it with things which are completely and utterly wrong, which is fine, because at least he's made the strides to get some things absolutely right. Whereas I don't suspect that you have, whoever you are. And I don't know what to say, really. I'd like to say something along the lines of, rich people can work this out and beat you over the head with it. But I doubt if rich people really understand it either. I think they learn other skills that beat you over the head. I don't think it's the learning of this. But I think I'd just like to explain a couple of things that might bring some of gives a bit of a background for some of this. The video yesterday about hoarding contained within it something that I've been pushing now for many years, that banks can't lend their reserves. Now, you could probably answer that if I asked you, but you probably don't really understand what you'd be saying. But it's a very interesting point, in that the Jim Plava that I was quoting yesterday, he does an interview with people for the show, 4 or 5 interviews per week, and tries to get as many new people in as possible. And I started listening to him about, what would it be, 6 or 7 years ago now. So I did a quick calculation before I did this video, that he must have listened to at least 300 to 500 different people, but not one of them has ever told him that banks can't lend reserves. And as I said yesterday, he's got this 1, 2, 3. He's an investment manager. He takes people's money and invests it. He's got this 1, 2, 3 of what banks can do with the quantitative easing reserves. But he's completely wrong with one of them. There's Chris Martinson, who's the, I forget the name of his very good Peak Oil, Peak something series. He can, just about there's nobody that gets it right. There are a few odd bloggers. Central bank officials get it wrong all around the world. So who else can you go to? And the reason I'm mentioning this is not to big up myself. It's to talk about communication and a bit of YouTube communication. That when I talk about these things, especially something like that, when in, let's say, the economic financial community, I would be 1 in 10,000 or something like that. It nags at the back of my mind all the time. But I know that if I, in YouTube videos, put it across as far as I can understand every time, so just in case the 9,999 in the end turn out to be right, which would be a miracle, I've got a bit of an out. But you can't do that in YouTube communication. You've really got to put it over quite confidently. And I can only imagine that's what Gary does with his video today. I'll link to the video. You can have a look. Saying some things which I smile about while I was trimming the hedge over there. But you think, well, how can he say things like that with such confidence? And I think it is part of this YouTube thing, that there's no point really having a mature debate about things. There's no point saying, well, is there? I don't know. Saying, well, Nick, I've got the idea now that reserves aren't lent. And he's pushing this as though it's the... Anyway, reserves only leave the Fed as cash, which has got rightness written all over it. But then it's just kind of shouted and yelled at me as though I'm so ignorant from not knowing these things. And would it be possible with anybody else to say, well, Nick, I've got the idea that this, but surely this or this, as in a decent way you'd communicate with somebody face to face, as it were. You wouldn't yell at them in the face that you're a fucking idiot all the time, would you? No, you wouldn't. No, people don't do that. But it is really queer that, as far as I can gather, okay, there are some girls that have got it. Because I was thinking earlier with the James comment, and there was somebody else that made a comment that was just... It was a boy comment, which kind of went... To me, what it meant was, I'm really very bored with this, so I'm just going to say something silly. Or, to be a bit deeper about it, listen, Nick, you're making me feel I don't understand what you're talking about, and you're making me feel silly. And I'm not going to make the effort to try and understand what you're talking about. So I'm just going to go blah, like you do get down the pub. Somebody just makes a silly comment, which means shut up, basically. You're embarrassing me because you're going over my head. But all the time, I don't know how many thousands of you do you go? Am I already at tens of thousands of hours of trying to learn about this stuff, or just thousands? I don't know. Can't do that quickly enough. I've got it. I obviously know more than you about it. I'm not talking to Gary here particularly. I'm talking to everybody. But to try and put it across in a way that's easily enough accessible, stressing how important it is, but also with the nagging thing that the experts argue about, well, the economists argue about things all the time which are irrelevant, And there are some things that financial experts and central banking and banking experts don't even argue about, because they think that one thing is happening one way, and I'm explaining it to you, it's happening a different way. But I've got to do it with a certain amount of confidence, or you just wouldn't listen. But it seems that you don't really listen anyway. And it's only a few girls, and one or two chaps that I know about. A chap is a guy or a boy. And Gary, who's starting, not starting to get, who's getting it. And I think it might be just to try and prove me wrong. I think he's actually going to the documents at the Federal Reserve and other places and trying to learn about these things. All right, it might be trying to look for a stick to beat me over the head with, but he's getting it. He's learning it when you lot aren't. But still, you get this video of Gary, and he's telling me these things that are just wild. I mean, I have no idea where he's got them from. And I think it's for me to tell him more so he can go and look it up and learn more, because he must realise he is learning more. So thinks one way of doing it is to cajole me into saying something to him by talking wild garbage. I can only imagine that's what it is. But it just is a weird thing that it seems that we on YouTube cannot speak nicely. Some of us can. Now I'm putting myself in that too. I can be really quite wicked. I don't know if it's just because it's not face to face, or it's just not a... I mean, but you watch the videos, and some of you have watched now hundreds of these videos, and it was free will videos before that. You watch them, but you plainly don't listen to them in a trying to understand way. Because if you had want to understand, you'd be asking questions in the comments. I mean, you know that I'm not always nice, but I am approachable if it approached in a nice way. And if you were trying to learn, you would ask questions of me. So either you don't really think that I'd have the answers, and I don't really believe that you believe that. I honestly believe that you just watch these videos for the entertainment value of it. But really, no learning at all. And I say this in a way that I've been thinking about television quite a lot lately. And I think a lot of people do this with television as well. They can watch thousands of hours of television, and sometimes the television will tell them interestingly correct things. But that won't be taken in and understood. Only things that will be taken in and understood will be sports results or really wild things that titillate. They can be political things that titillate, or titillation things that titillate. But dry things like central banking reserves, maybe I can say, I don't blame you for not wanting to know about them. But then I say, you can see what the video is going to be. Why on earth are you watching it? Gary, I can understand, because he's learning. But are you? He's obnoxious about it. Makes ridiculous videos telling me also I'm really very horrible. But at least he's learning. You're doing nothing. You're not doing comments. You're not going and checking the information. You're doing absolutely nothing. Why don't you just put the television on? It's just very bizarre. I'm not, can I ask you for comments about that? What on earth are you watching these videos for? Because to a greater extent as well, you leave me in the dark by not commenting. Gary comments. I get feedback from him. It's not very nice feedback, but I get feedback from him. So I know where he's at. So we talk to each other in a strange, bizarre way. But you don't comment. You don't say anything. I don't know where you are. I don't know where you're up to. I don't know what you want to know. So I just put these videos out, blah, 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 blah. And I can't connect them because I just don't know where you're up to. Because you don't say anything to me. Except the occasional, oh, mere digits, so send me yours. Which, isn't really helpful, is it? So, I continue to make the videos, which again I think comes back to me helping myself. Because I really don't honestly think that I'm helping you in any way, am I? Because you're not learning a damn thing. You can say, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. But you're not really, are you? Including Gary, I think there's 5 or 6 people that really are learning things. That's not really very many, is it? But then that's YouTube, I suppose. It's an entertainment channel, like the television. It's just entertainment. Learning is something you do at school, or forced to do at work occasionally. But basically, you get out of school and then you try and stop learning forever. So I'll just throw in a little warning at the end of this. The world where you could learn things at school and then run out of school and try and forget about this learning thing, except when it's forced upon you at work, is over. Because the vertical thing is disintegrating, you are going to have to stand up on your own 2 feet an awful lot more in the future. The best way for you to stand up on your own 2 feet is to have learnt things and basically know what you're doing, and not just wait upon somebody to tell you what to do. You don't have to start learning here, but there's plenty of really good places, even on YouTube, where you can learn some really good stuff. And I honestly do suggest that you start finding 1 or 2 things that you are interested in, that you can learn, that you might be able to, what they call, leverage in the future. In other words, to make some sort of entrepreneurial effort on your own behalf, instead of just taking a wage from whoever gives you a wage because you show up at work. Because that world is coming to an end. And you're going to have to shift your ass a bit. But again, don't listen to me. Just treat the world as entertainment and hope that it provides everything to you on a plate. It might work till the day you die. But I'm starting to seriously doubt it. That's it. Bye.